Hey everyone, today we're going to be making a Puffin plush out of fuzzy socks. This is the second plushie for my 1000 subscriber special, in which I spent a minute making sock plushies for every one of my subscribers. The cow plushie video is already out, and the sushi set will be released shortly. Overall, this Puffin plushie is probably at an intermediate skill level due to the white patches you have to sew on. So let's get started! To make this plushie, you'll need about half of a black fuzzy sock. Just make sure the heel is included in that half. Next, you'll need some white sock fabric. I've amassed quite a few scraps, so I'll be using them to make the belly and eye patches on the bird. Like with many sock plushies, the first step is to turn the sock so that the heel faces upwards. Since we're using a black sock, and obviously my usual Sharpie won't show up on it, I'll be using white marking threads instead to indicate sewing lines. It would probably be smart for you to do this as well, but if you're feeling real Aerosmith and want to live on the edge, by all means, go ahead. We'll be sewing in a similar shape to my chicken plush if you guys are familiar with that. For the bottom edge, fold the heel of the sock to one side and make large stitches roughly tracing it. When using marking threads, you don't have to leave any knots because they're meant to be temporary. Just leave short tails of thread on either side so that they don't come out. We're going to start actually sewing now, so when you thread your needle, remember to make several knots in the end. We're now going to sew along the edge we just marked using back stitches. Make sure to leave a space about 1.25 inches wide for turning. After sewing both sides, you can remove your marking threads. Usually I don't bother saving lengths as short as this, but if you're ever making a plushie where the marking threads are longer, you could save them by wrapping them around an empty spool for later use. While we mark the top half, the fabric may shift around, so you may want to insert a couple pins to stabilize it. Then mark a silhouette of a bird onto the fabric. You'll see a visual of what I mean in a second, but I'll try my best to explain it in terms of my chicken plushie, because that shape's appeared in plenty of my videos and a number of you have probably seen it. The head is larger than the chicken, and it's a bit more squished, with a harsher angle at the neck between the head and the body. The body is also wider, so I guess in short the whole thing's just stouter. Here you can see what I mean. Just like with the bottom of the bird, I backstitched along the outline. I forgot to film it, but make sure you remove the marking threads on top as well. Then cut around the figure, leaving about 1/2 inch of seam allowance. Next, I turned it right side out, making sure to poke out the head fully, then stuffed it. I like to add small clumps of stuffing, working my way down the plushie towards the opening. This ensures there's a uniform amount of stuffing throughout it. To use up old fabric and yarn scraps, I stuff a bit of homemade stuffing into the center of each one of my plushies. It's basically just random scraps cut up really finely, and they aren't quite as soft as regular stuffing, so I make sure to surround it with real stuffing so that it's less evident. Then I used a running stitch to close the gap in the bottom, closing it like a drawstring bag and stitching it securely shut. Make sure to tuck in all the raw edges so that the opening is as clean as possible. I chose to use a slip knot to fasten off the thread because it's a lot less bulky than regular knots and less likely to show on the finished plush. For the belly, you'll need your white sock fabric. So that it was easier to use, I cut off the toe seam and cut it into a flat sheet. I then cut the shape I wanted, comparing it to the body often to make sure I had the right size and shape. I pinned it in place, then whip stitched it to the body using small stitches. Using the same technique, we're now going to attach some eye patches to the side of the head. You don't need very much sock fabric for these, and I'm just using the remnants from the belly. With smaller pieces like this, you may want to cut them slightly larger because they'll fray more noticeably than larger pieces as you sew. One of the last things to do is needle felt the beak. I mixed 2 shades of orange together to create this wool because I wanted it to have a bit of variation to it. I folded the wool in half to create the point of the beak, then felted the excess onto the back of it. Most of the time in needle felting, it's best to leave the ends wispy to attach onto other felted pieces, but since we'll be sewing through it instead, make sure you felt it solid. Once it's roughly conical, you can gently sculpt it into a beak-like shape. Just like with the white patches, whip stitch it to the body. Lastly, we can attach some eyes. I'll be using my usual flat-backed beads, but you can also tie knots with yarn or sew on any other type of bead. With that, our Puffin Plushie is finished. Again, the other plushie tutorials for my 1000 subscriber special will be or are already released, so if you're interested, you'll be able to find them on my channel. Also, if you like the music in this video, some of the songs were composed and recorded by my friend Carter, who also has a YouTube channel, so I'll link it in the description box in case you want to check it out. As always, I've got many sewing videos on the backlog, vintage reproductions if you're interested in those, and a really exciting fuzzy sock project coming too. Thanks so much for watching, and feel free to subscribe for more fuzzy sock plushies, sewing videos, crochet, and whatever else I feel like doing.